Hi, welcome in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got our guy Schlegs moving
Yes.
around today, mixing, moving, jiving.
Mm.
Was hoping to get AJ on. He couldn't join. He's traveling. He's down in North Carolina with Pat. And so I wanted to continue some of the conversations we've had, Schlegs, some of the great combos.
I brought this for you, Bob.
There we go. You know what? Let's just show the folks. Let's show the folks. Let's get them close. Let's show them the Schlegelness on there, all the good parts.
It was funny. I was talking to Ryan yesterday, but so this is it, and there's the Schlegel.
Look at AS.
The AS. You know, all the stuff that you guys saw from Lathan. Lathan did a phenomenal job of articulating it, but you know, again, like Bob, like you were talking about, it's not like the token.
The
right?
symbology?
The symbology there is the memories. It's what all went into it. It's the maturation of the individuals and the team. And that's like when you finally like look at this, that's what I take away, you know. And and honestly, all of our conversations on the Bobby Carpenter Show about the young men that won this and earned this. And that's kind of fun too, because that never happened, right? So, you know, it was there for 6 months and now it's going in the keepsake, and my kids saw it, like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm going to be honest. You know? Like, for you being, you know, a fake Texan, barely a Buckeye, you've got one more national championship ring than I do, and you have 4, 5, 12, 13, 14. So you have 5 pairs of gold pants?
I have 5.
Yes, you have 2 more pairs of gold pants than I do and 2 more national championship rings. And so
just one more than you.
Oh yeah, just one more. I apologize.
And yours was earned playing.
Listen, man, you were a big part of it, and you were a big piece of that. And that's why I don't want to understate that to people out there. And I know that you will understate your importance and involvement, but I watched you coach the dudes out there and like how they resonated with you and the relationships that they had and how excited they were to see you. That's why I was upset that you didn't go to the game or down there on the field, because I go, those guys would want to see you before the game, even if it's just for a fist bump. And they asked me like, hey, are you going to go? And when I told them I wasn't going to the Rose Bowl, they were kind of disappointed. It's like, I'll be at the next ones, win that, and I'll be at the next 2. And I was like, and then they're like, how about Schlegs? It's like, well, I thought he was going to be there, especially in your native land, Texas.
Yeah.
So, because it matters to them. I remember like when we were playing, not that we're anybody special, but like when we were playing and looking at some of the older guys that were back, and especially guys that are around the program. Because when looking back on this, and having a chance to play and being around guys who came back and who were around it, those are the guys that you wanted to make the most proud of it, because they played it. They spent the time to come back to invest in you. And those were the guys who I always thought, I mean, like when Vrabes is watching us play, or when Joey, or, and Eddie, or even like Ryan Miller and Luke Fickle and all those dudes that were around who would see you work and you would work with them. Are they proud watching you that you are able to take the Buckeye nest, take the brotherhood, if you will, that everyone talks about, and you were able to elevate that and make and say, man, I recognize what that is.
Yep.
And so I think that those guys, like, because Lathan, you heard him, he's on here all the time. He's like, hey, my goal is to be the best defense in Ohio State history. Like, no offense. I'm like, no offense taken, dude. If that's not the standard, then you know what? You're exactly. At the wrong. I'm going to tell you to get out of here. Like, we'd like to be second best. No, dude, go be the best. And that's what everybody wants to see. And when you go to a place with so much greatness that has come through there, like, your only hope is, man, can I just like kind of like elevate that a little bit more? Like, even if it's like stacking like a little Buckeye on a mound of a million Buckeyes, like, can I put my little Buckeye on that mound to hopefully just kind of take it a little bit further, like just your 111th, as they say, just your little piece. And so that was always something for me. And so I love seeing those guys. And I know that they felt that same way about you, Schlegs, with everything that you've done and how much you got after it and the things that you would say, and they loved it.
Oh yeah. No, it was fun, man. I mean, I'd see them and, we did some stuff and I would just look at the quarterback's eyes when I was doing it, and it was kind of inappropriate. And they loved that stuff, And then, you talked about your jersey. It's Renton, and Luke Montgomery's doing it, and he came in and did a phenomenal job. And, the battle of Carson and Seth and how that worked out, and competitive excellence, and watching Trey and Q and all of the things that That's what I remember. And you know what, Bob, you made a great point, because when those guys were around, and now that I'm moving back, I'll be around more. But there was a special relationship. Remember Brzezinski always used to come in
and work out. Yeah.
It worked out with Vic, right? And, that relationship when Braves came in and all of the things, and just that brotherhood of those guys, like past, like our age now, probably a little younger than we are now, but coming back, and just how close knit they were. Like, man, that's how we want to be when we're that age. And the cool thing is that it's happened. There's a lot of us that are in town, and heck, guys that we coach with after starting their family, or that I coached and that you mentored, like they're having their families now here in Columbus, Ohio, and we get to see them. And some of them are on staff. Like, it's just super cool. Probably one of the coolest things about Ohio State for me is that because even though a lot of us aren't from this particular area, you being one of them that are, they all kind of come back to here because of what Ohio State means to us. And I would tell, I'm honest, it's the same thing with the band that's out there, like that camaraderie and wanting to be back and like make your life, like plant your roots here in Columbus, Ohio, is a big deal. And just to see it and tell our guys, like, man, there's more to this, especially when you're recruiting now on a national scale of what the impact is of Ohio State potentially on the rest of their life.
And so we had Joshua Perry on yesterday, and I love joking with Joshua about this. And like I brought it up yesterday, is that,
you wanted to tell him that don't give his son an inhaler?
With 100%. He knows that now. He knows not to be suburban soft, and he understands that, and he jokes and laughs about it. That's how you know it's real. When you can joke about something that used to bother you, just like, you used to call me bipolar Bob. And I mean, I acknowledge like some of my highs and lows, and I've tried to curb it as I've gotten older, be a little more rational at times. And I think that that's part of maturity, is understanding your own deficiencies, appreciating them for maybe some of the good stuff about them, and then also saying, hey, how can I be better? But I joke with Joshua, it's like, it's time for you now to get your butt back here and be around these guys, because when you were coaching Joshua in 2015, 14, 15, I'm like, we finished up in 2006. I go, Joshua, you graduated in 2016. It is now the 25-26 season. So you were the same age that I was when I was around you when you were finishing up, and like even before like starting. So I go, that's how time goes. And Vrabes and Eddie and all those guys and Jerry, I go, they're like 10 years older than us. I mean, those guys are in their early 40s now, or 50s. And, so that's all part of it. I honestly miss one of the things I miss the most. And even after, a lot of the guys that left, Joey would come back, and it's always in the winter because you're looking for a warm place to run, and we go run 110s together. I mean, Joey Galloway, I played zero, but he kept me going. And I was like, man, and he told me, he goes, you keep me going, because I need to always be able to beat you, and you're 10 years younger than me. I'm like, well, I want to keep up with you because you're one of the fastest guys I've ever ran with. So if I can at least maintain that, and we're like aging at the same rate together, then that feels good. And we're pushing each other, and we're pushing the pace, and that's what it's all about. So that's what that ring symbolizes. Like in all of those things together, I know we joke about the symbology and made up words and everything else, but like, to me, when you see that and your importance with that to me is what that ring represents. Because even though you weren't there on the sideline for any of the games, you were there when the steel was being forged. And I think that's oftentimes the most important part of it.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I love it. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate you, buddy.
Okay. I wanted to get into some Jim Marshall talk.
Oh, let's do it.
And talk.
Well, the Toughness Award.
Well, exactly. We got the Jim
I won that my senior year, and I just,
is that what it was?
Yeah, it was the Jim Marshall Toughness Award, and I took a lot of pride in that. And I'll just go back on Jim Marshall, and I want you to elaborate, Bob. But like, when you go through the Buckeye greats and
throw
the consistency,
there, Jim Marshall. By the way, the reason we're talking about this is the passing of Jim Marshall, one of the Ohio State greats at 87 years old. Look at that. If that doesn't look like football to you,
yes.
I mean, please tell me. That's why you got the Jim Marshall Toughness Award right there, because of that picture. Purple People Eater, 3/4 cut baseball shirt. Look like he's going to go out and throw some BP. He's got no gloves on, just probably soaking wet, freezing cold. Dude,
he's got the forearm shiver pad.
Oh, yeah.
You can kind of see it, and he's covered in mud. And like I look at this, and us older people, you remember, and they still got him, but you would go in, and when you were really little, you would buy the uniform of your favorite team.
Yeah.
And growing up, my favorite team was the Bears because it was the early 80s. And
Dick Butkus.
And I love Dick Butkus, and you had Mike Singletary, and you just had that defense. And so I would wear that. And then my buddy Rob, and his dad coached at the same high school my dad coached at, he had the Cowboys. And we would literally, like, in the backyard on a Saturday, raining, and like we loved it when it rained. And our field was literally 10 yards by like 5 yards. And we played imaginary football tackle in that backyard all day, every day. And we loved those days because then we'd be covered in just absolute filth, right? Mud everywhere. And it reminded you of that. It was NFL's greatest hits. I go back to that one from like early 80s. Go back and watch it. It was amazing. But that's it. Like that to me is kind of how I grew up of what football was, why I want grass at Ohio Stadium so bad. Like that dude just epitomizes toughness and consistency, and he's a Buckeye.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, and I'm glad that we got that. We're going to open that conversation up a little more and dive into it, but we've got our guy, A-Ward Sports Legs. He's back waiting in the wings right now, ready to hop on here, and I don't want to make him wait too long because I know he's got a lot of busy things going on. And we talked to him on my local show this morning. Want to get some of the field stuff, some of the stadium stuff, his thoughts on Jim Marshall probably as well. But I wanted to kind of open it up to some of the pantheon of where Jim Marshall ranks in Ohio State lore, and we'll get into that probably a little bit later with Austin and maybe even after as well. But really excited to get a chance to talk to that because, like you said, I mean, we start talking about great players at Ohio State. He was definitely one of them. And I'm honestly amazed that he's not in the NFL Hall of Fame after just looking at everything that he's done and what he's been a part of. So, like, he started 282 consecutive games at defensive line. I mean, you want to talk about a dude that's a grinder. And I played with Jason Witten. I don't remember what Jason Witten's consecutive start streak was. Let me take a look at this. I should have prepared this more. I was looking up this morning. I got and I lost my mind on it. But playing with a guy who has that, Witten started 227 consecutive games. And to put that in perspective, he actually he only missed one. It's amazing, missing only one game in 2003 due to a broken jaw. So what that means, Slags, is he broke his jaw and then played the next week.
Yes,
that bad boy shut and played as well. And he retired. He retired and then came back, and I think that broke the consecutive streak, or else it could have kept going as well. But I know what Witt went through to get to 227, and the fact that Marshall went to 280. I'm like, that's insanity for a position player. Kickers don't count. Brett Favre, tough guy, quarterback. I get it. That's great. But when you're down there literally hitting a dude on every single play, there's no way to play that position without hitting another human being on every play. So real tough dude. That's why he's the Toughness Award, and we'll talk about it. A-Ward Sports up next. Austin Ward, but attention parents and athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit to your own unique smile. They 3D print that bad boy in there for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. So you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Do not take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. We got Austin Ward coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Oh my gosh. Schlegs. London Fletcher had 256 consecutive starts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Linebacker.
98 to 2013
Wow.
from John Carroll College
yeah.
outside in Cleveland. Heck of a player here. Now I want to welcome in our guy, Austin Ward, slide in A-War Sports here. One of my favorites, always around, always doing great things, always has the quarter zip, all the way zipped up. You look like a European assassin right now, Austin.
Well, that's the look I'm going for. You know, ever since I was able to slim down, Bob, it's like, maybe I should just lean into this, zip it all the way up, all 3 buttons on the golf shirt. Like, let's just really class it up.
How big is your neck right now to be able to zip that? Like I can't zip mine all the way up. Like
I got room. I mean, Schlegs, I haven't been eating enough
train
iron
your neck.
like you.
You don't train your neck.
I know. You come help me out. Meet me in the Woody weight room tomorrow before camp season, and I'll start spreading it out. Because maybe that's the problem. I've lost too much weight. Before I couldn't zip it up all the way, Bob, and now I'm at this point where I can.
Yeah, to quote the great Cody Rhodes when talking to John Cena at SmackDown on Friday night before WrestleMania, you've got a neck like a stack of dimes. I mean, that was honestly, of all the insults, that hurt me the most when I heard that.
I love how into professional wrestling your boys have made you, Bob. It warms my heart. We got Raw coming in like 2.5 weeks to Columbus. I'm assuming that the Carpenter family is going to be right behind the Pat McAfee announce table, just like you guys were the last time they were in town, right?
Don't tell me that, because like SmackDown is going to be up in Grand Rapids, and they're trying to lobby. I guess most of Cena is going to be on SmackDown, and my son's going to be up there for lacrosse, so we actually have a reason to be close to it. I have so many hours in the day.
You know people though, Bob. You know people.
So here's what you do, Bob. You get those tickets from McAfee. You give them to Liberty for her birthday Raw celebration, and then we'll pretend like you're there. I'll hold up a Bobby Carpenter fat head, and it'll be like you're there.
Maybe we could work out a Ward Carpenter duo, because I think my youngest is the one who really loves it, and what is Liberty in, like second, third grade?
Just finished second grade. Yeah. What, a week ago?
That's 2 weeks. Perfect.
2 weeks ago.
My little dude Caleb, he'll be in third, so they're the same age. That's tremendous. So they'll enjoy that together. What I enjoyed, Austin, I know we talked a little bit about this morning, was the visceral response when it came to the South Stands renovation. And I understand there's some passion behind it, and I understand that the one thing I am a little bit upset with was the fact that they announced it like a month after you had to pick your seats. Right. So there's people that wanted to strategically be like by the band and be close to that, and then it's moved. If they just would have maybe gave a heads up, band will probably be in the North Rotunda this year. I think that would have solved a lot of problems.
Sure.
But there's a revenue problem at Ohio State, and everyone loves the championships. But to do that, you've got to be able to generate these dollars for the athletic department to operate.
I think there are a lot of difficult parts about Ross Bjork's job. And I think when it comes to managing college football and managing the horseshoe, this is coming to a head all at once. It's not just about the house settlement. It's not about all just NIL and paying players. There has been an ongoing conversation about modernizing the horseshoe, because as much of it is a college football cathedral and a bucket list item, not just for Ohio State fans, but college football fans across the country to go see it. It is not cutting edge. It is not the most high tech. It is not just about Wi-Fi, and it's not just about if you need another jumbo board in the north end zone, jumbo video screen in the north end zone. There are other things that have to be updated to keep the horseshoe with the times, and that is somewhat in competing interests with Ross Bjork's other priority, which is making the atmosphere as electric as possible, which again is not a conversation that is just as simple as having night games and not having noon kickoffs with Fox. But all these things go in there into the pot at once, and you're trying to find a solution that keeps everybody happy. Well, that's not going to materialize. There isn't going to be one. But as you said, the unfortunate part of looking at all this is what has to be the top priority. One, keeping Ohio State competitive for national championships every year, and two, keeping people in the stadium. And both of those things combine with this revenue stream and the importance of broadcast inventory, which sucks to say when we're talking about sporting contests, but is the reality of college athletics. And putting premier seating, premium seating, 400 seat backs in the south end zone, the luxury boxes, 12 seat, nine boxes that hold 12 people down there on the field, are a way for Ohio State to try and accomplish multiple goals at once without necessarily displacing a ton of fans. So I will never pretend to speak for the fans. They are the ones that are paying their money, that are having to deal with the elements out there. I'm a press box snob, and I'm blessed that I get to be paid to be there and have parking spot and a roof over my head. And so when they're upset about it, I listen. And if they are going to speak with their wallets to Ross Bjork that they really hate this, I mean, we'll find out. But I do think that this is a nice compromise. Personally, we'll see if it works out that way once it actually becomes the 2026 season and people are having to pay for those seats down there, where personally, I don't think that'd be a great place to watch a game.
So my dad brought that up. He was like, how much are they? Like 10 grand? I go, I think they're like $6,000 a seat. He goes, well, that's kind of a deal, but he goes, I don't want to sit like in the end zone to watch a game. I'm like, but you're I think it's as much experiential as anything, being by the players and being by, where they come out of the tunnel and being field level. And so trying to get that done. But, the reality is, like, Ohio State is one of the few places, probably the only, that tries to be both Stanford and Georgia or Bama or whoever else. And I don't want to see sports get cut. And I think there probably will be some tailoring back, maybe pruning, if you will. Yep. But I think this at least helps alleviate some of that.
Well, some of that has already been going on with the athletic department, Bob, whether that, they're trying to make every reasonable cut that they can. I think, like, courtesy cars has already been something that I think people in the athletic department have seen fall by the wayside. And that's something that you look at and say, was this going to really hurt the employees? This is going to really hurt the athletic department? No, but it was a nice perk for them before. But it is a part where, okay, would you like to continue to be part of an athletic department that's going to sponsor 30 plus sports and compete at them at the highest level? These are the discretionary moves that Ross Bjork and his entire staff are looking at, saying, where can we raise money and where can we save money so that we can continue to do this? I feel like, personally, I don't know if you agree with this, Bob, like, it's inevitable that one or two of these sports, and I don't have any preference, and I'm not wishing for it to happen. I don't know that Ohio State is going to be able to sustain them all permanently moving into the future. So as long they're staving it off as long as they possibly can, and maybe premium hospitality becomes something that doesn't just exist at football. Maybe you see more of it for basketball. It already exists in some form there. Maybe you see it for women's basketball. Maybe they have, donors and diehard fans of lacrosse and hockey that could pony up for that and allow them to avoid some of these other cuts. But, it's so expensive. We're talking about Ohio State and Texas, really, that fund athletic departments with this amount of revenue and expenditures every single year. And as you said, Stanford is doing this, but they're not even doing it at the level necessarily of Ohio State. And they're certainly not competitive at the football scope that the Buckeyes are. So they are, in a lot of ways, unique to the college athletic space, which is why they have to find some solutions that are also unique to Ohio State.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, hit me, Schlegs.
As I type into the chat. Hey, so here's the biggest thing. And this is where I think sometimes people get heated, but it's the bigger picture, and you alluded to it. You're about ready to have revenue share and a salary cap in college football, Austin. And honestly, that's going to, just so everybody knows, that's more impactful in a negative on Ohio State than it is a positive. Right. Because now the playing field's even. You got to think about it. You got 9 units. And so every unit is going to have money that's allocated to that unit. Who's going to be the highest paid guy in that unit? How can you subsequent some of that money through NIL, collectives, whatever the case may be, right, to raise that up? But the playing field is, in essence, level, because you're going to have whatever $14, $16, $20 million salary cap along with a revenue share. So there's one. That's of significant importance of how we navigate those waters. And Ross Bjork being a champion for Ohio State. And we talked about this with State, like all these other ADs, like champion Ohio State first, Big Ten second, rest of college football third. That's how it's got to be. All right. So priorities of things that we're doing here. One, to put seats in the building, you better have a great competitive roster that's trying to win a national championship or competes for a national championship every year. That should be priority number one. Number two, and this, again, I'm asking you this question because according to Bob, that's what people that do radio and podcasts do. They ask questions. So where would you rank these? Facility for the team? And again, this facility, Bob and I have been gone for 20 years. They were building the addition to the Woody right after we left. It opened in 2006. So where are they currently right now is 20 years old. Just saying.
Yep.
It is not, I mean, honestly, guys, it is almost to a point of embarrassing when you go from an Ohio State facility to the Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson, Michigan of the world. Texas, I'm just telling you, because I've been in every single one of them. I love it because, again, work works. I don't care, but it's a real thing, okay? The toilets in the Jumbotron are something that I heard, and I think that's a way of actually enhancing the nostalgia of Ohio State to make it more efficient. Then you also have, how do we navigate and generate more revenue, NIL dollars, to not have to impose a hike in ticket prices and all these different things to keep everything the same. On a priority list, where do you stand outside of fielding the best team in college football?
Yeah, I used to, and I still hear about it all the time, Schlegs. Oh, well, the Woody needs to be upgraded. It's fallen behind. It doesn't stack up with some of the SEC. You know, you mentioned Tennessee. I was there when that one was being upgraded. That was 15 years ago. They're saying the same thing, that they still need to continue to enhance that as they go along. So that's the old nature of athletic departments when they weren't sharing revenue. Well, how can we spend this money? Well, we're going to make it the best possible. Clemson's putting in putt-putt courses and slides because they weren't sharing money with the players. We're going to make this their Shangri-La, their Nirvana. They want to be here, and that's going to tip the scales when it comes to the recruitment. I no longer believe that is what are you going to – you can go train on your own if you make $2 or $3 million in if Jeremiah Smith is getting this from Nike or Red Bull or everywhere else under the sun. I don't know that he needs that facility. He needs a place to practice, and Ohio State's got those 4 fields on the outdoor. They've got the indoor. Yes, it could be better, but I don't know that has to be number one for me personally on the priority list. Okay. I think that go ahead.
No, I honestly am kind of agreeing with you because I'm just asking where it is on the priority list because I think the value proposition of bringing athletes to Ohio State has changed from 5 years ago to now. When we talk about development, again, there's a bunch of different things, and the facility is a facility. It's where you go to train, and It's still really good. It's not the most ideal, and it doesn't look like everybody else's, but is that really going to sway somebody to be the deciding factor as to why they go to a Georgia in a 40,000 square foot weight room versus Ohio State's that I think just shy of 15?
Yeah. Well, I mean, however big it is, Mickey Marotti and Anthony Schlegels that work in there seem to be getting the results from the Buckeyes, and they're getting developed in the Woody and going on to the NFL level. So yes, you could make it better. Is it negligent? Is it lacking?
Not next on the pecking order. What's next then? What's next besides fielding an elite team?
I would say that the atmosphere and the enhancements to the Horseshoe should be the number one priority because I feel like that is the largest room for growth to find the untapped resources and financial resources that Ohio State needs to field those competitive teams. And again, I just walk through the concourse. I don't have to sit or get to sit through the games down there. I don't know what it is like to deal with, those toilet situations or have to stare at the big screen and not. I can see where the room to enhance that exists. Now, those are longer term projects. They're not going to be done necessarily in 6 months or 1 year or even 2 years. But I do think when we're talking about this collectively, to make sure that the product on the field is at the highest level for Ohio State, the field that they play on and the venue that they're in, I think has to be more accommodating to the fan base. And then that goes hand in hand with, well, what happens with the broadcast deals and that revenue and in making it even more appealing for people to buy tickets to go into see these games at the Horseshoe. So I do think that out of those two spot legs, the Horseshoe itself is probably more pressing than the Woody.
We're going to take a quick break. More back with Austin here in a minute. All right, we're back with our guy, A Ward. Please, if you're watching the show, like, subscribe, leave your questions or comments. We love all the interaction. And talking about the environment. So lots been made of the noon games, Austin. I know we've talked about this and trying to move the Texas game from Saturday to Sunday, the Fox Big Noon. And the reality is, Ross inherited a lot of these problems. It was like, hey, buddy, you got the best job in college sports. Here you go. And then what's in the box? What's in the box? And there was actually a head in there. And he had to look. It was his own head that he had to look at and said, you better take care of these problems. And the deal is cooked through 2029.
Yep.
I'm anticipating Ross will be here through that and longer. Kevin Warren got a lot of money, sold some things that he couldn't even really have the ability to sell, like a Big Ten championship game to, I believe, CBS or NBC, who didn't have the rights to that.
Didn't work out great, did it?
No. And so Ohio State has really had to feel the burden of this because you've got Oregon and USC that are valuable properties, but they're limited to most likely 3:30 and 7 p.m. slots. Penn State's the other team, and then Michigan to a certain extent. Do you foresee over these next 2 or 3 years Ohio State either A, flexing, saying if we're going to carry the burden for this of over half of the national televised games, the cut, because the Big Ten and SEC have always done it the same. Everyone gets the same revenue. Mm-hmm. Either A, we're going to start splitting this differently, or B, we get to dictate the terms of how this is going to look.
Yeah, and I think Ross Bjork is already doing that, not in a way that actually brought any meaningful change to the Ohio State-Texas game specifically, but you had Ohio State's athletic director standing up and saying, hey, this is not what we want. We would like to find another solution. And Fox said, we hear you. We understand you. Here's what we're willing to do. We can't put it on Saturday night in prime time. We have baseball. We're not going to give this game to CBS. We're not going to give this game to NBC. It is one of the most important games of the college football season. So maybe Sunday. And then Texas had the contractual ability to say no because of the change in date. But I do think it is significant and worth pointing out that Ross Bjork was willing to stand up and take that fight and that conversation to the broadcast partners, because it's not sustainable as he's trying to accomplish all of his goals for Ohio State specifically, to have every single game at noon, to carry the entire freight for the league week after week after week, year after year after year. And it may not yield fruit in 27 or 28. But if these are productive, ongoing conversations, and maybe it helps for one game here or there in the short term, but at least Fox, CBS, Tony Petitti, NBC will know where Ohio State stands, because I don't think they want to get into a situation like the ACC was in, where Florida State and Clemson are demanding changes and demanding more money. Ohio State deserves more. Yeah. Is Ross Bjork going to pound the table and demand that they get it, or would he just like some concessions about when and how the games are scheduled? I mean, maybe some combination of both would be great for the Buckeyes, but I think he's willing to fight either way, which I think if there had been any, uncertainty about this hire in the first place, what is Ross Bjork going to do? He's most famously known throughout his career for the buyout for Jimbo Fisher. What's his level of expertise? What's his investment to Ohio State? I think he's quickly shown that he has a really good feel for what it takes to lead Ohio State and what Ohio State needs to lead into the future. And I think there should be a lot of solace. There can still be frustration that the Texas game is at noon, but I think that there is probably a lot more reason to be encouraged that Ross Bjork is going to fight to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen into the future.
Especially when you come in and you take a job and you probably don't even realize the fact that you're responsible for all the revenue generation of the Schottenstein and concerts. And hey, I'm going to come here and be the football athletic director. Psych. Nope. You can run a lot of stuff. And, oh, by the way, here's all the stuff that you got to work through. Kind of bumpy. Hey, let's shift gears. Okay. Ono.
Santa Ana. Santa
Ana Ono. He's leaving Michigan. I'm going to be the president of Florida. Gator Chomp all day. Let's go. Swamp City. Not so fast, my friends. Board says no go to Ono. Thoughts. What are you hearing in the grapevine that's actually going to take place here in the next couple of days about Michigan and all of this? Because obviously, there was something in the water that they just did not like down there.
Yeah, I mean,
let's go. It's Florida's yours. Tell us what's going on.
Don't leave your job until you have a new one confirmed. I think that would be I thought the Michigan education system was world famous for intellect. What is going on that you just decide to abandon this post for no guarantee down at Florida? I thought it was, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, Bob. I think it was on the Bobby Carpenter show, and I was talking to you two guys about this. Where, I mean, Ono had really cast his lot. It wasn't just a Jim Harbaugh situation. It wasn't just a football program situation. It wasn't just a Ward Manuel situation with the athletic department. The president of the university was getting involved in defending, and passionately so, the allegations and the cheating scandal and everything in the recruiting violations, everything that was going on for Michigan, which is going to come to a head with the Committee on Infractions later this week. I mean, I think would send up a lot of alarm bells and red flags for other universities trying to be involved. If that's what the president of that school decided to do, and it comes out that he may have been aware, and I don't know that. I haven't looked at his resume, and I'm not deeply involved in the day-to-day coverage of that other program or Florida, but he made it very publicly well known that he's posting his own bet tweets, and he's showing up to practice and posing with Connor Stallions and all those guys. So it's, a red flag is the right word for it. And I can understand why this may have been blocked because of what has happened under his watch, just for an athletic department. I don't know anything about what he did for Michigan as a school, but it doesn't seem like they really want to hire him. And now you've got other situations where Michigan is staring down the barrel with him on the way out, with Jim Harbaugh already gone, Sharon Moore trying to dictate the terms of his own suspension. And you have this Committee on Infractions hearing, I believe starts Friday and Saturday. It's a big pivotal week there on the other half of the rivalry.
Go ahead,
That's
Schlag.
bumpy. Listen, tell me, what are you hearing? I know you got to go. Okay. Train neck.
Yeah.
So what are you hearing from the infraction starting Friday, a couple days away? What are you hearing that's going to come out? And what are we thinking about things of way that it could look moving forward?
Yep. There's a rare case where the NCAA has this volume of evidence against a team and a program, and really what seems to be an entire university. So I don't think that you already hear some of the preemptive defenses. You can't punish the current players. They weren't part of this. They should be able to take part in the postseason competitions. No, they are free to transfer when the school faces the penalty. If you don't discipline the program forward-based, then you cannot continue. There's no rules to enforce whatsoever. We all saw the game 2 years ago. We all saw the national championship game. They've sold all the merchandise. They've had their celebration. They've made their championship rings, and none of those are going to go away. They have to be forward-facing, and I believe that there are a lot of people in college football. Now, the NCAA is notoriously difficult to predict with what they're going to hand down. A lot of people are anticipating a postseason ban for Michigan, and I don't believe that the two games and choosing when you're going to serve those punishments are going to fly for them with Sharon Moore. So I think there's going to be more games coming for him, likely the first two to add to the two that Michigan gave for weeks 3 and 4, games 3 and 4. Would not be surprised at all with a postseason ban, and I believe it is deserved when these are violations that aren't recruiting. This isn't NIL. This was in flagrant, integrity of the game violations.
Well, Austin, we appreciate you.
Hey, are they vacating? Austin? Are they vacating?
I don't. Those seem silly to me. Like, we all know that they happened, and no one reads a physical record book now anyway. When was the last time you picked one up? It's got to be something that you can see and feel and is tangible for the current season or the current season or the current. So
does that mean 2010 comes back?
Okay,
it should. I mean, Reggie Bush has his Heisman, right?
I know. We live in a world where it's lawless now, Austin. And Schlegs is lawless with you, and he has no clock integrity. So I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for spending some time today with us. We stole you for far too long, and especially on short notice. You have a good one, sir, and we'll catch up here soon.
Always great to catch up with both of you guys. See you next time.
See you, brother.
Here's our guy, Austin of A Ward Sports, working over at the Fan now, doing some great stuff, and hopefully he gets the Rooster Show coming back here soon. I want to tell you about our friends over Backer, BCKR.com, premium Buckeye gear, hats, jackets, all the good stuff you're looking for. Premium products at Backer.com. A portion of the proceeds go to the OSU student athletes, as we were just talking about a little bit of that with Austin right there. And you're going to see it's awesome. It's the high grade golf, hunting, fishing, all that stuff that you like, all the fancy doodads and doomajigs on their schlegs that'll make your stuff be even better. And you know what? They've got great UV protection on the windbreaker as well to keep the sunburns down. So go check them out. bckr.com. Use promo code Bobby, BOBBY, all caps, for a free expedited shipping. So go check them out. We got headlines coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome back in the show. And now it's time for our headlines, brought to you by our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing. Lake Spur Marketing, full service ad agency. Trust, strategy, performance. That's what they're all about. Lake Spur is going to shield your team from the outside nonsense, the noise, the cold calls. What they're going to let you do is do what you do best. Work on your business. They'll bring the leads to you. They've got the experience, over 100 years combined on their team. Lake Spur eliminates the waste. They deliver on time and on budget. They don't chase the clicks. They build partnerships. Lake Spur Marketing, the proof is in the partners. All right, Schlegs, you know what the date is today?
Yeah, today is June 4th, 6/4.
6/4. We're going to throw this up, Schlegs, just so that everybody always remembers. 6/4 with one of the great games in Big Ten history, if we can toss that up there. Iowa, Penn State, Schlegs. It was the game where there was, I believe, no touchdown scored. How do you get to 6 points without a touchdown?
2 field goals.
2 field goals. Penn State, and there was actually a game last year or 2 years ago that Iowa got to 7 with a field goal and 2 safeties. Like they go old school here. So looking back on this, I don't even remember when this was and how long ago that was. I don't think James Franklin was the coach. No, this was back when we played. It was still with Joe Pa. October 23rd, Schlegs, 2004. That Penn State offense was really bad. We beat them 21-7, I believe, in the shoe that year. Yeah, and we played him. I think
that running quarterback or something. I remember
Mike Robinson.
Yeah,
come on, like dude, M-Rob's he played like 7 years in the league at fullback.
I know,
love him.
Yeah.
M-Rob was great. He's big dude, tough
Big.
to knock out. He was very thick and
huge
very
head.
Huge. Exactly. I go, dude. I told him, like, there's no way you're going to stay at quarterback. Your head was way too big. You had a head like a running back. But M-Rob, their quarterback, good stuff. And your boy Drew Tate as the quarterback for Iowa. I know he was one of your favorites. That was a bludgeoning that we took from Iowa that year, though, in Cedar Rapids.
Oh, it's terrible. I remember that. That was bad.
That was him running down the field playing the air guitar as he was running 50 yards on their final.
I think it was 31-7, Bob.
Yeah, it was bad.
All my family was there. It was terrible.
I think it was actually 31-13. We scored a touchdown. Rory Nichols scored his first touchdown with like a minute to go. And I'm like, dude, it was so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad. I think it was after that game. Troy came in maybe in the second half of that game. He did.
Well, because, Matt Roth dumped Tim Schaefer onto Zwick. I always said it was the double sack. He just gobbled them both up.
Remember that guy? He had flame tattoos on his calf and his forearms.
Yeah, he had the matching flame on his arm and on his calf. Like I
was like, that's legit. I like that.
It is. They said he went to the skin kitchen over in Dubuque and got it done. I heard.
Wouldn't doubt him.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's our headlines brought to you by Lake Spur. We've got our tailgate talk coming up next. All right, welcome into our tailgate talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck, and some questions.
This chat was so juicy.
Some questions in the chat about the Roosters show. with it Austin and Bird used to do, and Schlegs and I, Zwick, we'd always pop through there. Loved it because I got the Roosters for the family and they loved it. So it was a win for everybody. They're working on it. And I think hopefully we're going to get that done here pretty soon. Schlegs, here's a question from Terry Slusher. Why does Fox have all the say when the game starts? I get it's a signed contract, but the defending national champs being the bell cow moneymaker for Fox should have some say, right? From what I understand, the draft of games, Fox gets the first 3 picks. Like I guess for non-conference, you pick the games. Conference games, you pick the weekend of who you want. And so number 1 weekend, you're always taking, Schlegs?
Ohio State, Michigan.
Ohio State, Michigan. Then you look around. Does Ohio State have a big non-conference game at Ohio State that you have rights to? Yes. Texas. Ding. Let's take that. Then probably the next biggest game, which is going away after this year, was always Ohio State and Penn State. So I'm fairly certain that they took that weekend as well, because you're not going to be able to take Oregon and Penn State. I think, well, that's the night game that's going to be there. They could have potentially taken that, but you're not going to take any USC or Oregon games if you're Fox at big noon that are home, because it would be at 9:30, in the morning. It would be ridiculous. Sure. 9 o'clock in the morning. So like, that's why it's Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. And unless one of those other schools has a big time game on the same day, you're going to get screwed, in those first 3 matchups. It stinks.
Yeah, it's terrible. Nothing you knew about it. I didn't write it. Kevin Warren did. He approved it. No Bucks be cancer. No whiteboard, no monsters. That's
I know, and that's what Ross is having.
Now he's running. Now he's running the Bears.
He is. So if you're a Bears fan,
I know.
Like,
dang,
yeah, but that's tough. And so, so talking in here, there's a bunch of stuff and going on, but that was like one of the main questions. I just want to explain that to everyone, because it's not Ross. And if they couldn't change the date on Texas because they wouldn't change it. So I don't blame them. I would rather play at Ohio State at noon than night. You don't need the promotion. And frankly, you're going to have them be playing it, at night down in Texas next year. So you've got that going for you. That's it. We're along here again for this edition of Tailgate Talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Coming up, Schlegs wraps up the show with his parting thoughts. All right, Schlegs, your parting thoughts. No Jim Marshall, because tomorrow, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about best players in Ohio State history, and Jim Marshall will be the jumping off point where he ranks, but maybe best D lineman, best defenders. We'll keep it to D line to keep it simple, probably.
Hey, throw this up there. This was interesting. I saw this. SEC schools will now be fined $500K every time fans storm the field or the court. In the SEC, you have the hedges, and you think that would do it. Now they just got to put some pikes out there in the field so they don't get fined. Like, hey, listen, that guy didn't storm it. He got impaled by a pike. So we're good, right? No, the answer is I do like this because there's safety. You can't control it. I also remember our 2004 Michigan game, Bob, and storming of that field when they were the Big Ten champs, going to the Rose Bowl. The goal was to not let them go to the Rose Bowl. They still end up going to the freaking Rose Bowl. But we did our job, and I've been 30-something to whatever. Great game. And I remember just walking through the massive humanity. That was really fun. So I don't necessarily know where I stand. The court thing, especially when you don't, with the opposing teams trying to come off, it's a safety issue. You kind of miss it, but you understand why they're doing it now.
I get it.
It's a hefty fine.
It is hefty. Like, listen, if you permit it, you promote it. And so they're going to have a steep fine on it. And I get it. I like the court field storming, the court storming. Just, I wish everybody's home fans would be safe with it and not antagonize the opposing team. And that goes for people at Ohio State. Like, you beat somebody else, let them walk off and you'll celebrate with your team. Because that's the big issue is that people
and it's also the other team, like game's over. Like,
get out of there.
Your locker room, right? We saw what happened with that.
Coaches, get them out of there, get them going. And listen, I've been on it for both sides of it, man. And I hate being on it when your team loses. It's great to be on it when your team wins and you're at home. That's it for today's show. Tomorrow, big conversation because Jim Marshall. I want to talk about the best defensive lineman in Ohio State history. Some other topical news. Bill Bender, I think, is going to join the program. So stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.